Last week, we got more information about Monster Hunter Wilds than we have ever gotten before. It includes things like weapon changing, environmental changes, some aspects of open world gameplay, and much, much more. So if you want to understand currently what's happening with Monster Hunter Wilds, then you are going to want to watch this video through to the end. So the first thing I'm going to do is break down the brand new trailer that we saw at State of Plays. You can clearly see them on a classic desert boat at the very start, which gets me excited because I can't imagine we don't get a new Gen Moran in this installment. For anyone who's not familiar with myself, I played Monster Hunter Tri religiously when I was younger, played many of the other games, especially Monster Hunter World, and I'm just excited to get another Monster Hunter game on PC. I do own a Switch, I love a lot of Pokemon games and things like that, but I am more excited about PC gaming with Monster Hunter because that is what it deserves. It deserves high quality AAA graphics, and the PC and PlayStation 5 can deliver that. Later on in the trailer, we can see a lot of interaction between the different monsters and each other. This happened in the other games as well, but it was much more infrequent. We can also see the hunters hiding behind the bushes to avoid Doshaguma, and this is mentioned in a community event by the art director later, and I'll discuss that later in the video. We can also see that the hunter used their new hook slinger to dislodge rocks above Doshaguma's head and deal some damage to it. I suspect we'll see a lot of environmental interaction in the game, just like we'll see them change depending on, I don't know, seasonality or time of day. We can also see the monsters get dragged into a sand vortex, which I think is foreshadowing the final monster in the game, the final boss, so to speak. I think all of the vortexes, storm, and all that sort of stuff are really hinting at this sort of end game in Monster Hunter Wilds. The last main thing we can see in this trailer is the weapon changing mechanic. You can see they're wielding the greatsword, they jump straight onto the secret and pull out one of the bow guns, and then start letting loose onto the pack of three. Not only this, but he's using it from directly on the secret mount, which I can't believe. This means that it won't just be used with bow guns. You could probably use it with bows, weapons, lances, gun lances. Who knows what sort of new abilities we're going to be getting from this new mount system. After that, while they're even standing on the ground, we can see several new actions the player uses with the greatsword in particular. I can't wait to see what new treatments some of the other weapons in the game get. Personally, I love the lance, and I used to play the switch axe a lot when I was younger. Now, the next thing we'll take a look at, because it has some really interesting information, is the community message posted on X by the official Monster Hunter account. Firstly, they introduced the two people in the community event, Yuya Tokuda, who is the director of the game, and the art director and executive director is Kaname Fujioka. It is in deep development right now, and the environment undergoes many drastic changes. They make this point very, very clear during the interview. They also want players to experience an unforgiving and a hostile ecosystem, something that can change at a whim and really cause you some issues. Even in the trailer we saw when he put the greatsword into the mouth of the Doshaguma, and this is something we've never really seen in a Monster Hunter game before. There have been things that are kind of similar, but being inside the literal mouth of a monster is unexpected. The other thing they talked about is a sense of seamless immersion during the gameplay and the story. They make it very clear that the action and the gameplay needs to be seamless and transition. And in the trailer, we can see this time and time again. It has also been a first time in a while where they have introduced an amphibian monster. And I think they're really fond of the new amphibian they announced. I will talk about it a little bit later in the video. So the other point they made, and something that I think is really important, is they said with Doshaguma, they wanted to portray how environmental changes affect the monster's ecosystem. I imagine when the characters were hiding in the bushes in the trailer, there is a new mechanic that could be introduced during certain environmental conditions, and it won't always be available. In this case, they could hide inside the bushes because it was a lush forest, but that same area might be very deserted and barren in another quest where you're fighting against this monster, and you won't be able to approach it in the same way. The last thing they talk about is the secret, which is a really core part of the entire gameplay loop of this game, and they'll be required to traverse the wide variety and different terrain types. They also hope it contributes to the seamless flow of action gameplay, and from what we can see in the trailer, they've absolutely nailed it. Let me know down below if you're excited for this new mount and all the ways you can use it. The last thing they talk about is probably one of the most exciting parts of this entire reveal. The Palico and the Hunter now both talk in the game and are voiced. We have voice lands, we have voice actors, we have everything. This is the first time for a Monster Hunter series. The last thing I wanted to talk about to bring you up to speed, there was an X post made by PlayStation, a PlayStation blog at least. And they go over a series of the things I just talked about, but I'll tell you some of the new stuff that came out of that you might not know about already. Firstly, the entire quest system has changed. You'll begin a quest when you find a monster out exploring the locale. That's what they call them at least. What we don't know is how many locales are there and are they joined together? Because if they're joined together, we finally just got an open world Monster Hunter game. Now, maybe you're not openly multiplayer world, but if you can go into the world and that's how you find all your quests, that's the next step to open world Monster Hunter. I know something a lot of people are excited for. It also says things about the locales drastically changing depending on the environment, and some detailed info and high quality imagery about Doshikuma and Chattacabra, Ceratonoth and Dalphydon are in the article as well. Chattacabra is one of the first amphibians. There are some, but not many, and they haven't released one in a while. Chattacabra is something I think the team is very excited for, and it looks absolutely fantastic in the trailer. Another key thing about the mounts we just learned is you can not only attack while on the mount, but you can heal, sharpen your weapon, or gather materials while on the secret. We saw the gathering materials in the trailer as they shot a slingshot to try and gather something, but I cannot believe that you can do these other actions. Now, in my personal opinion, this sounds like it's almost too OP because you can get away from a monster and heal really easily. But at the same time, it depends just how difficult the monsters are. The team made it very clear that they want this to be a more hostile environment. Their words, not mine. As we saw in the trailer, it also enables hunters to switch their weapon out in the field, and this Icret will actually carry it for you on their pouch. That's why it works this way. However, they did reveal in the blog what weapons are returning to Monster Hunter Wilds. Here's the quick list. The Greatsword, Longsword, Sword and Shield, Dual Blades, Hammer, Hunting Horn, Lance, Gun Lance, Switch Axe, Charge Blade, Insect Glaive, Light and Heavy Bowguns, and of course the bow. All of the classics. Let's just say I haven't played a Monster Hunter Rise and I recognize all of these weapons. The other thing the blog mentions is that there are new actions for every single weapon type returning to the game, which gets me really excited. I can't wait to try a bunch of different weapons and see which playstyle now fits me better. Because it then proceeds to detail some of the new abilities and systems in the game, including focus mode. This will allow players to have more precision and it will affect their guard, aim, and attack during the game. I expect this to feel like a combination between Elden Ring and Monster Hunter now. In Elden Ring, you can select your opponent, so it's always looking at them and all that sort of stuff. And Monster Hunter now, you can select certain parts of the monster. I suspect it to be a combination of the two, and it will not only enable you to do different actions with your weapon, it will make it easier to do things like break parts and maybe even mount monsters, which I assume is coming back, but we haven't seen any details on that yet. The other new thing is the Hook Slinger. This allows you to collect items from a distance, as we can see in this video here. There are also some details about the new research commission in the game, consisting of you, the Hunter, the Palico, Alma, Gemma, and Nata, all featured in the trailer in the Forbidden Lands Research Commission. Personally, I'm not huge into story when it comes to video games in general, but I am really looking forward to this one because with games that are centered around bosses and those sorts of enemies, I absolutely love it. Elden Ring is, in my opinion, the best game of all time. Monster Hunter Worlds is probably second. Let's put it that way. So to say I'm excited about Monster Hunter Wilds is an understatement. But what excites you the most? Is it the mounts, the new weapon actions, or even voice lines? Because I think that's going to make the game a whole lot better.